Today I'll be going over the steps for installing Wolk NoSQL Chain. You'll see I've on the Wolk website, and if I scroll down, I get to a button that says Try for Free. Clicking on this takes you to the installer GitHub repository. We'll scroll down to the README and go through the steps. So for the purposes of this demo, I've gone through step 1, 2, 3, and 4 already, but I'll just go over them really quickly so that all is clear. This demo requires the installation of Docker. It also requires installation of Node.js and the local web server npm package. As I said earlier, I've already gone through step 4 to clone the Wolk code from above. This is typically done just by taking the URL here, going to GitHub desktop to clone it. And so I've cloned it into the installer directory here. So let's go here. You can see that it has all of these files that are listed on the GitHub page. And now I will run npm install. So this will take a few seconds, but this just takes all of the dependencies and installs them. One thing to note is that Wolk is using a Plasma cache implementation to facilitate much of these interactions. And eventually we will have multiple Plasma operators, but right now we're the only Plasma operator, and it is configured using this address and port. You will be able to configure the code to point to a particular Plasma operator once we make this available for others. So the next step after configuration would be to start the API server. That's just done by running node space API.js. Once that's running, we want to start the Wolk UI. So I'm going to open another another terminal. In the same location of the repository, I'll move into the website directory. And here, I will run this to start my web server. Next step is the actual creation. So the creation of a blockchain is going to also create a new wallet. And so when you create a new blockchain, you can give it a name. So I'll give it Wolk NoSQL Demo. And then I'll choose NoSQL as a type. I'll give it a password. And then I'll click Create. Now this will take a little bit of time, so I'll walk you through what the operations are that it's going through. It'll first create a wallet. Then, so that you can make a deposit into our Plasma chain, we're using our faucet to deposit some ETH into the account. And so this is actually happening on the Rinkeby testnet. And so now that this process is being mined on the Rinkeby testnet, once it's confirmed to be in a block, it will go to the next step. The next step is taking that ETH and depositing it into our smart contract. You can see that action also on Rinkeby. And what it is doing is depositing into our Plasma contract, which initiates the creation of a token and the blockchain ID itself. So the UI here is monitoring that, and it confirms that all of these are complete. The next step would be to download the key store file and treat it just like you would any important key store file for an account or wallet. Now we're going to go to the next step of activating the blockchain. You'll see here that I have a newly assigned blockchain ID, I have my name, and then there's a RPC port and a port. The RPC port is the port that we'll be communicating with via our Wolk.js node package. And this other port is a port that's just required for the binary to run its peer-to-peer networks. For the purposes of this demo, we'll keep it the same, but if you happen to have something running on those ports when you're testing, make sure to change it to open ports. there's really no need to change anything in the data directory. So next step we'll click is create. This is downloading, if it hasn't already, the Docker image associated with the NoSQL, and once it's downloaded, it should be activated. Now, I had already downloaded this before. The first time that you download the image, it may take a minute or so. Now that it's been activated, we can test our blockchain. So this test page here shows us a bit of information. This is the wallet address that we just created. We'll see that our NoSQL chain blockchain currently has no blocks minted, so it's at 0. I'll talk about this verified block number at a later point, but you'll see also that the address now owns a token and it has this balance. So what we'll do is just do some simple key value operations. So what I'll do is say fruit is my key, banana is my value. And I'll click create. You'll see that transaction hash was generated, and you'll see that the block number incremented. So it means that that transaction has made it into a block. Now I'm going to say veggie carrot. Okay, you'll see that another transaction was made and another block increment. Now let me see, I actually want to change fruit from banana to apple. You'll see another transaction hash and another block number increment. So for fruit, I can say, what is the value of fruit? It should say apple as of block 3. And so if you leave this block number field empty, it goes to the latest minted block. So when you retrieve it, you'll see that there's apple. And then there's a proof that can be used at a later point if you need to prove that the value was apple as of block 3. So now let's say I wanted to see what was fruit as of block 1. It shows here, it was banana. And just for the sake of completeness, we can go to block 2, and it was also banana. And you can see that on each retrieval, there's a different proof showing that fruit was indeed the value that we returned at each block number. So now let's try a block that we haven't yet minted yet. It returns an error saying no block. But what about veggie? What was veggie at block 1? Veggie wasn't created as of block 1. We didn't create it to block 2, so the result shows not found. If we go to block 2, we'll see that we did set it to carrot. And then if we go to block 3, it didn't get changed, and so it's also carrot, but it has a different proof because it's in a different block. And so I said earlier that I was going to go back to this verified block text box, and let's say that I want proof that the Plasma chain actually received and processed my block number 2. Every time a block is minted, you'll receive what we call an anchor transaction hash, which can be used to do this proof. So when I click go, it shows the anchor transaction hash for block 2. It returns the proof, and it also returns the Plasma block that the anchor transaction that we sent to Plasma, that it was included in. And then last but not least, we can show a full log that goes through the verification steps for showing that the value that the block had been propagated. So I won't go through that in very much detail right now, but we can go back to our blockchain, and for good measure, we can say veggie, we'll say peas, we'll create, we'll see the block number incremented. I can see veggie is peas. I can go to block 3, see it was carrot, 2 is also carrot, 1 is not found. So that's the end of the demo. There will be more details to come out about how you can interface and build your own similar UI using our NoSQL database that's available at a later date. Thanks for your time.